because this is how this is really going to go down. I don't care how they've sugarcoated this. Most real estate agents will not get on a camera and tell you this stuff. I will, because my taxes are paid, my house is paid for, and I'm just going to tell you what I think. Okay, I got to admit, I am absolutely fired up. And if you've been paying attention to the NAR settlement, if you're a real estate agent, you're a prospective buyer, or you're a seller and just trying to figure out what's going on in the real estate agent world, that's one of Pensacola's top real estate agents. I got to go ahead and put this on paper. What is going on? Give me my thoughts. This is absolutely insane. Congress needs to get involved. The Justice Department needs to get back involved. This is going to be big. It's huge. It's left the market with a big question mark. We're going to talk about it right now. I'm fired up about it. This is my unfettered opinion on all of this. Okay, so right off the top, NAR made a settlement in the middle of the night to not admit guilt on the whole compensation, how really there was like a price fixing idea that was going on, and some lawyers and all their great wonder tried to put a class action suit together, and they actually won the case. And NAR decided to make a bunch of daggum rules that made no sense, and they're still trying to figure it out, and it's left real estate world in shambles. I'm actually going to call this the real estate agent wars of 2024, because between buyer and seller's agent, there's going to be a lot of feuding going on. The MLSs are saying they're going to take the buyer's compensation completely off the MLS. Zillow is going to take it back off after they just put it back on. And when you go to show a property, you are going to have to find out from the other agent somehow, smoke signals, pigeons, however they decide to do it, if they're going to offer a buyer's agent commission. They're going to force buyer's agents to have their clients sign a buyer's agreement prior to showing. This is all happening, I think, by July 1. This is like all of a sudden sprint mode for this. And I don't think they've thought this through. There's so many ways this is going to go wrong. Okay, one, the lower end buyers are going to be without representation. That's just going to be a fact. Let me break this down cold turkey style. If you are using 100% finance loan, VA, FHA, however you're going to finance your property, and you do not have the money to upfront pay for a real estate agent to walk you through a deal, you're going to be without representation. Because this is how this is really going to go down. I don't care how they've sugarcoated this. Most real estate agents will not get on a camera and tell you this stuff. I will, because my taxes are paid, my house is paid for, and I'm just going to tell you what I think. You're going to have listing agents have the property, they're going to list it. And then if a buyer that's unrepresented wants to go purchase that property, you're going to be dealing with an agent that's going to be paid for by the seller. And if you think you can out-talk, out-negotiate, out-contract right, and out-understand the process better than a seasoned seller's agent, you've got another thing coming. Usually, like in a transaction, let's say the commission is 6%. 3 goes to the seller, 3 goes to the buyer's agent. And that buyer's agent represents you, and you're in a fiduciary standpoint to what's best for you as the buyer. NAR has prided itself all these years about protecting the person that doesn't quite understand the real estate world, being ethically right, being honest and upfront and playing by the rules. And in their backdoor handshake, they threw it all out the window. Okay, just so they didn't have to admit guilt. This is all my opinion here. And by doing so, they created a system like that to where the average person will not be able to afford representation. It has become pay to play in the real estate world. This is not going to make housing more affordable, okay? The seller is still going to list it and sell it for the comparable price the market would pay. They're going to pay for their seller's agent to represent them and their property. And I can guarantee you that that seller's agent is not going to be looking as a transaction broker. They're going to be looking at this as a single agent, as a combative single agent against you. And they're going to get the best terms for their client. And you being unrepresented And for the average person that doesn't do tens or hundreds of transactions inside a few years, you're not going to know the rules. You're not going to know how to fill out the contract. You're not going to know what it means. You're not going to be able to have the network. You're not going to be able to understand title. You're not going to be able to understand proration of taxes and how the auto works and going through the door and inspections and surveys and all these things that happen. And you can be off by just a little bit in negotiation and lose the 2.5% that you think you're saving by not having a real estate agent. Okay? Real estate agents, the good ones, and I've talked about it time and time again on this channel. Go check those videos out. Good agents and bad agents. A good agent will negotiate on your half and will wind up saving you 2.5% of headaches, okay? And probably on the price, and probably litigation, and probably all those things, earnest money, all those things are important. If you have done lots of transactions like I have, I'm fine representing myself, okay, in most situations. Now, if I go to Miami, if I go up north where the rules are different, I will hire a real estate agent. The bigger I've gotten into real estate, I understand that a professional is worth every penny. A lawyer is worth every penny. As a layman, you don't know everything, especially going into condos, all the disclosures, all the addendums. Sometimes some of these contracts can be 50 to 100 pages, okay? And I don't suggest anybody going into that by themselves. I think that NAR, since they have to pay, I think, $418 million, they're not going to go bankrupt like they should go bankrupt. NAR should be disbanded after what they just pulled. It should be remanded back to the states. Florida should have its own Florida Association of Realtors, which they already have, and it governs Florida. Alabama the same. Georgia the same. I do not need a lobby pool way up north to decide something in a back room that I have to pay dues to. Because this is how this works, okay? NAR, I have to be a member of NAR, okay, with their code of ethics and everything they say they're doing, which they do the direct opposite. They don't ever go after anybody that should be going after, all the bad apples. And all they're going to do is double my dues next year because I already paid for this last year. They're going to double my dues next year, and then they're going to force me to pay them because you can't operate the local MLS. The local Association of Realtors will not let you on the MLS unless you pay those guys, okay? And when you look at who is on the board of those and what they've been caught doing, and you haven't heard anything from the local Association of Realtors on what the rules are going to be, and they don't even make sense when they do create them. And now, so I have to be a part of that and list a property, I have to be a part of that, okay? And you need to go read this case. These big brokerages, don't sue me. I'm just trying to paint the picture here. They allegedly were, when they say price fixing and the whole thing about, oh, 6% commission is gone. No, it's not. It's just that they were making everybody only accept 6%. They were trying to price fix. That's what the attorney said. That's what the case said. And now the whole industry is having to pay. For the entire history prior to that, if a real estate agent wanted to list for 5%, cool. Another one 5.5, cool. Another one 6%, cool. But NAR got caught up in all that because they had a lot of back literature saying that they were fine with that, okay? And they didn't do anything about it for years, and some attorneys hemmed them up. Now, all the other MLSs are in complete upside down mode, okay? And if you create this illusion that the buyer's agent is gone, or we have to call the listing agent 100 times a day to figure out if they're going to give us a compensation or not, and then the buyers don't have the money to pay for it, like, what are we doing? We had a very simple way of doing real estate, and all of a sudden, you just throw it out the window in one night, okay? And now you're going to create this system that nobody knows what's going on. You have bad apples taking advantage of everything until they get caught, and then they figure out what the rules are going to be. It's absolutely nuts. You have to understand the contract, what it says, all the elements to get in and out of the contract. Every side of the transaction needs to understand. Or you'll also wind up having listing agents doing all the work for 2%, all the risk, all the litigation risk, and make half as much money. And what will wind up happening is the real estate agents will phase out and go sell yachts or go sell something else, and everybody will be without representation, and there's going to be so many lawsuits and so many problems in the market, and title companies will probably even collapse. Loan officers will go out because the system will be so chaotic. It will not be streamlined like it's been all these years, and there's a reason why we're at where we're at. Understanding the contract, like the FAR bar contract we have, is very simple, and you understand it. But for the normal person, because I deal with a lot of people, they don't even know what it says. They just sign it, and they hope that the agent they picked is ethical and honest, which I am. I'm very straightforward with it. A lot of other agents are just like, sign here, here, and here, and then when they get in trouble, they're like, well, you signed it. You got to know what you're signing. You got to know what you're doing, and you're not going to be able to afford a lawyer to read over this thing every 10 minutes because you just bounced out of one deal and went to another. And yeah, you might get a real estate agent or a real estate attorney to read it right now for $500. But when real estate agents are gone, it's going to be $5,000 because now they're accepting the responsibility of it. This is just a bad situation. Also, is we're going to have a lot of good agents that are going to try to do their best. You're going to have good agents going against each other, and they're going to figure it out, and we'll be fine. But then we're going to have some bad agents that have already popped up jump out there and say, I'll list your house for 1%. And let me tell you something. If you think you're going to get good representation for 1%, let's walk it down, okay? Most brokerages have a 70-30 split, okay? So after they pay their broker, they pay the IRS, they pay their MLS dues, they pay for your pictures, they pay all these things. They're not making much money. Now you got risk on top of it of litigation and getting sued because people sue for everything now. And by the time they back that down, if you think you're going to get good service and an agent to answer in the middle of the night when something goes wrong for 1%, you're not going to see it. The service is going to get so bad. So what you're going to have, the bad agent's going to run out there and start getting listings at 1%. The good agents are going to try to follow suit because they got to keep a business model that makes any sense. It is extremely expensive to be a real estate agent. Right now, I'm licensed in 2 states. I got 3 MLSs I got to pay for. I got my brokerage dues. I've got all the software I have to be like up to the minute on everything and keep everything, systems, processes, higher transaction corners, everything that has to be done. And every once in a while, you have to fork over for some really big stuff. And at 1%, that is not a business model. So your good agents that have quality service that are absolutely good and worth every penny, they are not going to be able to operate at 1%. It's just not going to make any sense. So you're going to have this race to the bottom to as cheap as possible. And the service is going to go down the tubes. And these listing agents are going to have to open the door every time somebody calls. Because in most states, you got to be licensed to open the door and show the property. So they're not going to be able to delegate it out unless they figure out. State's going to have to figure that stuff out too. There's a lot of things to figure out. Now, what about all the listing agreements that go over July 1? Well, how are those going to work? Like, there's just so many questions that they did not figure out when they let this stuff go. And these local board of realtors need to get off their butt and figure this out. And I want to go back and say this. The lower income, the first-time home buyer, those without a lot of money are going to get hurt the worst. Congress needs to step in, and if you're out there and you're a congressman, you need to step in and you need to protect these people because they are going to get taken advantage of in this new system. Until everything is figured out, the mortgage system, the loan officers, all of them need to jump on board here and say, hey, there's going to be a lot of people taken advantage of by bad actors. They are not going to have any representation in these contracts. You're going to have some of these brokerages try to wrap in their loans with their commissions and all these things, and it's going to be wild, okay? They need to get in front of this because it's about to happen, and I want everybody to know. Everybody's talking about it. Real estate agents were there for a purpose, to create order on the battlefield of real estate, just like officers in a war. And between the litigation that'll get caused from bad contracts and people doing wrong things and fair housing disclosures and making sure that everything is disclosed up front and having somebody that'll take one to the chest, which is the real estate agent, when somebody does something wrong, you're going to have a lot of problems. And I'm trying to vocalize this because most people don't understand. They think that real estate agents are nobodies. Well, there are some out there that are not very good. There are some out there that are absolutely awesome. And they make it smooth. And the reason why you got a smooth transaction was because the two agents were doing it behind your back. Okay? And if you have not been in a bad situation yet and understood what a real estate agent does, well, it's a matter of time. Because if you do enough real estate transactions, you are going to find yourself in a situation where you don't know what to do next. And you better have somebody in your corner that's been there before, and that's what a good real estate agent is. And for many people, they save the day, or they are the ones that get in trouble when it goes wrong. And it keeps chaos from happening in these contracts. If you think that a real estate attorney is going to step in and do this, no way. And as soon as you create law to do that, their fees are going to go up. Okay? And you are not going to get a real estate attorney to go down to the permit office and figure something out and order inspections and talk to all these contractors and all these people that are doing shenanigans behind your back. Real estate attorneys are not going to do that. They're going to do your title, and they're going to say what the contract says, and they're not going to negotiate. They're not going to tell you how to go to the other side and get $20K off when something's found, or how to go to the other side and get a roof put on, or figure out when insurance isn't going to work on this before you even get in the deal. Not an insurance agent, but I'm telling you, we see this enough that we know before we even get in that transaction where you can close it. Can you close it with VA? Can you close it with a conventional? Can you close it with FHA? All these things, because we do it all the time. Attorney's not going to do that. I love my attorneys, but they're the first one to tell you I'm not going to do that. So you're going to be stuck in these situations without a real estate agent, and you're going to be going against somebody with counsel that does it all the time. Good luck. So I'm going to close this out with those statements. NAR needs to be broken up, okay? It needs to be remanded to the states and have your local real estate boards, okay? Just like your license is state, keep it in the state. That whole situation up there with NAR, like, it needs to be called what it is. And I'm going to be the one that will say it. And when they try to come at me, I'm going to put that on YouTube too, just so you can see how corrupt what they did was. And were there some bad things going on up there with those cases? Probably. Maybe. Yeah. But it shouldn't affect Florida, which already had a very simple listing agreement that said, buyer gets this, buyer's agent gets this, seller's agent gets that. And it says in the listing agreement exactly the way it's going to be broken down in contractual agreement, okay? And it couldn't have got much simpler. Some of these other states don't have that. They need to fix themselves. But Florida was doing very well. And we should not have to cater to a decision up there. And it needs to be broken up. They need to take their lumps and pay their settlement. And if the local MLSs don't figure this out, something else needs to be created, because there's no competition to this game to allow people to say, you know what, I don't like the way you're doing that. I'm going to put my property somewhere else. I'm going to take my attention somewhere else. And for like somebody like me that has a lot of people that see my stuff, you almost don't even need the MLS. And Zillow is another one that's going to tank. Buyers agents buy leads, okay? And if buyers agents are not selling properties because of this whole thing they just figured out, one, NAR is going to lose a lot of its members. The local MLSs are going to lose half their members, okay? And they're going to stop buying Zillow leads. And Zillow draws from the MLS. It's this big circle of events that's going to eat itself if somebody does not step in. Congress needs to do a hearing next week and say, and don't get these mouthpieces to go up there and tell you what you want. Get a seasoned agent that does 100 deals a year or 50 deals a year to get up there and tell you their opinion. Somebody that's been doing it a while. Not at some talking point on Fox Business, CNN. Get somebody out there to be like, you know what? This is what's wrong with the real estate agent world, the realtor world, all these things. And how can we fix this? and make it very clean and concise, because all it is hurting those people that won't have representation and this pay to play. Because now it's lawyers pay to play because lawyers are the ones doing this. See, look, most people have no idea how to buy a piece of property. I've talked to 3 people this week, and I love them to death, but I've got to paint the picture for everybody to understand what is going on. They call. They've got an FHA mortgage. There's this property that happens to be in their price range. Like sub 200,000 is rough, okay? And so VA FHA, those houses are not going to qualify for those loans. Okay, they're a 100% finance client, and they're like, I just need a house. Like, I just need a house. I don't have a lot of money. I barely have enough for down payment, or if I'm not having a down payment, to buy the premium for the insurance. You know, that the underwriter will accept me with a 1% premium insurance policy, and if there's any repairs, I can't buy a house. And somebody that doesn't even know how to do a contract, doesn't even know how to contact an agent or even get them to talk to them, okay? Because that other agent, that's now that you've created this system, is going to be working for the seller, and they're going to say, FHA, sorry man, not going to talk to you. Well, now all of a sudden, they don't even have the ability for somebody to talk on their behalf because they can't afford a real estate agent to show them which houses that might qualify for their loan, because they can't pay the $5,000 or $8,000 for the real estate agent because he has to eat too and pay for his kids and all these dues they expect us to pay. Now, they can't even get in the contract, and they can't look the agent up online and get their email and know what kind of contract to send, how to fill it out, having DocuSign or Dotloop or just getting a who, what, when, where, and why on a piece of paper and try to send it to the agent, and then know what their lender's letter or approval letter or whatever they need to send over there too. They just don't do it every day, so they don't know how to do this. And then when that agent banners back with them, say it's take it or leave it, or when they don't even play by the rules, like let's say they don't even present the offer. Let's say they are trying to discriminate. The buyer does not know enough to say, hey, you just discriminated against me, or hey, why didn't you present my offer, or hey, what is your counter? Like, hey, how do I get the contract? What is a title company? Like, where do I deposit my earnest money? Like, okay, we're under contract. Well, how many days is an inspection period? Oh, well, how do I order inspections? I need a survey. Well, on day 29, I didn't know I needed a survey, so I didn't order one. And oh, now I lose my earnest money because I didn't complete this in the time period of the contract, and we're outside the inspection period, and boom, they lose their $5,000. Like, there are so many ways that this is bad. Like, the real estate transactions can be so complicated, especially when they're not cash, and even when they are cash. Even when they're as is and the price is solid, they never wind up going. I've got a saying, as is never always as is. If you're trying to buy a condo, there are 50 addendums and disclosures to go with these pieces of property. Now, with single family houses, you got airport disclosures. You got seller's disclosures. You've got assessment disclosures. You got all these disclosures. HOA disclosures. A normal layman does not know how this process works. And then you close and you get sued, or you get a levy against you, or you find out there's all these liens because you didn't use a title company, and you find out there's so many ways this goes bad. And Congress got to realize that these people need protection. Everybody needs protection. Even I would be buying with an agent if I wasn't in the state of Florida, or even in my region, because it's different everywhere you go. There's a reason why Miami has a completely different contract than the rest of the state of Florida. I just hope this goes to where somebody fixes this. That's all I got to say. Comment down below what you think. I'm really fired up about this, and something needs to be done. See you guys later. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm going to make another video after this because I got my coffee.